Buenos días, buenas tardes, estudiantes. Esta es la clase 28. Hoy es viernes, el 27 de marzo. So here we are, making it through the first week of online format, doing this. Still not really loving this particular way, but it is what it is for now. You will be sure you read the email that I sent you today about the upcoming test and also about the possibility of doing an online or a real-time class via Zoom starting on Monday. Going to give that a shot. So at 2:10 Central Time, if you would prefer to do that instead of going through the these videos, you are welcome to come and join us. I will send you the link that morning or something before class so that you know how to get in. So I hope to see some of you there. I know that it's not for everybody, but so here we go. We've got just a little bit of vocab left to do for Lección 10. So have that vocab sheet handy and also have your handout handy that has a story. You're going to do one more story in there today. So have that available so that you can refer to that. We'll get to the adverbs that you see on the top right of your vocab sheet a little bit later. Also the story about Manuela, I think is the name, I think. So we'll go to that also later on today. So I've got this first slide up, notice, that has some vocab for you to fill in. So go ahead and pause the video right now and see if you can go through all of those with a possible correct word that comes from the vocab that we've been working on for Lección 10. So go ahead and pause right now. Now I'm going to go through them and see how close your words match. This one, un síntoma del resfriado es la tos. Un síntoma del resfriado es la tos o es la fiebre. That would be another possibility too. Hablé con el médico en el consultorio o en la clínica o en el hospital o en la sala de emergencias. We've got a few things that would work for that one. 3. La enfermera me puso una inyección. Just notice the difference in that between Spanish and English. In English, you give people shots, you give injections, and in Spanish, you put them in someone. So she put it in me. That's what the me is doing there. So me puso una inyección. Cuando tengo un resfriado, me siento muy congestionada. I was going for that. I suppose there are a few other things you could say. Me siento muy enferma. I just feel very sick. You could do that as well. Mareada would possibly work too. Next one. No estoy enfermo o enferma hoy. Me siento muy sana o me siento muy saludable. Estornudaba mucho. Notice that that's in the imperfect because that was a repeated thing or it was going on. I used to sneeze a lot. I was sneezing a lot. Cuando tenía un resfriado. O cuando tenía la gripe would work as well. Anoche me di en la cabeza. Remember, that's one of our new vocab phrases too, to bonk yourself on the head. It uses the verb dar, so that's why di is in there. I hit myself on the head. Me di en la cabeza y hoy me duele mucho la cabeza. Me duele. Remember how you use that like the verb gustar. So me duele la cabeza. And then the last one, Julia se cayó durante el partido y se torció la pierna o se rompió la pierna. O posiblemente se lastimó la pierna. That would have been a possible one for that as well. She injured her leg, she broke her leg, or she twisted her leg. She sprained her leg. All right, next slide has a cute little baby's face. Isn't he cute? Esta es tu cara. This is your face, right? Cuando te ponen una inyección en el trasero. There's that back part of your body that that little guy doesn't really want a needle in. So el trasero is behind. Okay, next slide. As I alluded to on the video, on the email I sent you guys, there's an examen coming up, and it's going to be a little different than what I would have given you in person. I'm choosing to use the testing capabilities that we have through VHL, through the Panorama site. So I will give you more information about that early next week. But it's something that I can assign. I can give you, it's going to be timed to be available from one time to another time. I don't know when those are going to be yet, but the test will take place during the class time, sometime, whatever you choose for that time, in a week from today, Viernes el 3 de abril, clase 31. So just be prepared for that. More information to come on that. Next slide. Okay, in just a second, I'm going to have you pause the video again and take some time to read through the list of vocab words that you see in the adverbs. I want you to challenge yourself to pronounce those correctly. I'm going to come on here in just a second and go through that list as well, but before you hear them from me, see what you can do for pronunciations, and then also give yourself, as you read one and see what the definition is, I want you to see if that adverb lends itself to be used more with preterite or more with imperfect. They're not all going to be one or the other, but there's a few that you're going to be like, oh, okay. That one will be used with imperfect a lot because, so see if you can think of that. So go ahead and pause the video right now and read through those, and I will come back on here after you unpause and I'll read through those. Here we go. First one. The first three, notice I'll have a phrases. A menudo, a tiempo, a veces. That little word veces means times. So a veces literally means at times. A little farther down the list, you had the phrase muchas veces, so literally many times. If you have a phrase like dos veces, 2 times, una vez, 1 time, muchas veces, like it says below there, many times. So the first 3 have the a with them. The next one, además, apenas, así, bastante, casi, con frecuencia, de niño. Before we go to the next box, notice that the con frecuencia and the de niño will lend themselves often to, tell me preterite or imperfect? Imperfect, because they refer to things that happened over and over again, or that were habitual kinds of things. Next box down, de vez en cuando, despacio, menos, mientras, muchas veces, poco, and I have little in amount there just because it doesn't mean little as in small. That's pequeño. Opposite of grande is pequeño, but poco is the opposite of mucho. I don't do something a lot. I do something just a little amount of time. Next one, por lo menos, pronto, rápido. Okay, rápido, opposite of despacio, which, does despacio ring a bell to anybody? A popular song not too long ago called Despacito. So yeah, it has to do with slow versus fast. Rápido and despacio. And then todos los días. Clearly, a adverb like todos los días, that phrase is going to lend itself to imperfect, as well as that phrase, the word mientras, while, and we've had it in several of our stories, while this thing was happening, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so mientras conducía, mientras estudiaba, mientras escuchaba la radio, that type of thing. Okay, next slide. We're going to come back to those adverbs in just a little bit, so hang on to that. I'm going to put up these verbs right here to make a point here about, we've been talking about imperfect and preterite a lot, and we have mentioned that preterite is always about actions. Action, action, action. If you could see me, my hands would be doing the little, one and done action that you saw me do, that gesture that is associated with something just being one and done. It has to be at a very specific point, at a very specific time. But what about verbs that just because of what they mean don't imply any action? The verb pensar, to think. Okay, that's not really an action that you can see happen, right? Conocer and saber, both of those are to know people and then to know information. Neither of those have actions associated with them. They take place in your head. Poder, to be able to, querer, to want or to like or love, tener, to have, estar, to be. Neither of those have actions associated with them. So, are you ever going to use those in the preterite? Yes, the answer would be yes to that. And you guys already know that because not most of these you saw last vocab in Lección 9. We talked about how the verbs saber, poder, querer, conocer, they all have separate meanings depending on whether you're using the when you use them in the preterite tense. They have a different meaning. So next slide, we'll illustrate that. I'm going to put those all up. Whoops, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Okay, so we talked about how conocer meant meeting somebody for the first time, right? Is that the last one? Sorry. I feel like I skipped over something else. Nope. Didn't actually do it. So go ahead, you can just look at some of those examples that ultimately refer to some sort of action, once done over kind of thing. I just didn't know the nurse. I met her. There was an action that took place. I just didn't know that she was telling the truth. It occurred to me, it dawned on me, pensé. So when you use the preterite forms of these verbs, there is some sort of kind of action implied, or that happened in the moment. Poder, normally it means just to be able, but we've talked about it meaning managed or succeeded. I just didn't have the ability to do it, but I actually went through with it as well. So when I ask you the question, ¿pudiste terminar la tarea? The question is not, were you able to finish the homework? Did you actually have the capability of finishing the homework? That's not my question. My question is, did you actually follow through with it then? Did you manage to finish your homework? So it's a different meaning when it's used in the preterite. The negative form of that will, again, imply some sort of action. No pudimos terminar la tarea. What you know from that is that we tried. We really did. Like, we gave it our best shot, but we failed. But there was an action that took place with that. Next slide. Keep going too fast, sorry. So, same ones, same things we talked about before. The quiso, no quiso. Tried versus, and then refused. Supe, I found out. We did not talk about tener, but when I say that that tuvimos clase ayer, we had class yesterday, yeah, it took place for 50 minutes and then it's over and that's done. So tuvimos clase, I'm going to use that in the preterite to indicate some sort of action. We had to study, tuvimos que estudiar. Yeah, we had to study and we did. It's not just that we were expected to, but we acted on it. So action, action, action. In the story you guys are going to do in a little bit, I'm going to ask you to demonstrate that you understand that concept. So before we get to the story though, this video is close to being done. So next slide has the story from today that you should have already loaded up onto Blackboard as well. But make sure that you take a little bit of time at the end of this video, before you start the next one, to compare this with the story that you guys wrote and see whether or not your story is coming close, because we're getting farther along in this and I want you to feel more confident with the preterite versus the imperfect. There's lots of red in here. The only kinds of blue that you're going to see are things that are more descriptive in nature. So like tenía in the first verse. Okay, I'm going to stop it here, and we'll start with the next slide on the next video.